To you again with another one. All right, so we're talking about the lovely Miss Porsha Williams, right, from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? So we are asking, is she the new face of season 17, right? She's went from being broken, put out, right, and divorced all in a span of a few seasons, but she is now saying has become the new face of the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 17. But she did a wonderful interview with Carlos King. Y'all know the king of reality TV, right? So it was a really good interview, and she really talked about her span over the season 5 all the way to 17, her role as being the wife of Cordell Stewart, former or Heisman Trophy winner, right? So she was the wife when she came in, right? And then she found out she was a divorcee through social media, left with nothing, no homes, no cars, no money, no way to make money, right? Had to go back home to mama. So she went into how that affected her. Okay. Also went into her role as now being the face of the Housewives of Atlanta. Season 17, how she's holding it down without those Nenes, okay? The charades, the Kandi Burruss, right? The Kenya, all of the old familiar faces that we know on Housewives of Atlanta are gone, right? So she's left to really hold it down. Her, Phaedra, and Cynthia Bailey, they are really the last ones holding it down, the OGs holding the Housewives of Atlanta down. So she really did have a great candid interview with Carlos King, reality king of TV, right? To kind of get into it, how she's handling everything from all her divorces, right? The battles on the network and the battles with the ladies on the Housewives as well. Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get into that interview, which was really, really good. Okay, and just kind of get a idea of, is Portia the new face of reality TV? That's the Housewives of Atlanta, that is, right? So season 17 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? It feels a little different. Okay, the energy has shifted. Okay, the veterans are gone, right? So there's no NeNe Leakes, and y'all know NeNe Leakes is the lady, right? She's the diva of the Housewives of Atlanta. She is the star of the show. She was. She had those quick comebacks. Maybe she would get into it with any and everybody on the Housewives of Atlanta, right? Well, apparently she got into some legal battles with Bravo Network allegedly. So she left. She felt like she wasn't getting paid her worth. So she's branched out. She has her own podcast, I believe, on YouTube. So I'll check for NeNe as well. But NeNe is gone. We had lots of rumors that she was coming back, honey, make some appearances, but to no avail. NeNe Leakes did not show up, right? Okay, so then we had Kandi Burruss. Y'all know she most definitely was a veteran housewife on the show as well. She's a part of Escape, that nice girl group, that R&B group, that diva group that we know. She got married on the show to Todd Tucker, right? Her mama, Miss Joyce, did not approve of the marriage. So y'all know we saw the ups and the downs with Kandi. She also had like a fiance that was on there as well. He passed away, had a fight, went into a nightclub, got punched in his head, right? He passed away. So she had a loss on the show. Kandi went through a lot on the Housewives of Atlanta, really, y'all. So she went from that into, the situation with her child's father, Block. I believe his name was Block. Okay, so she went through that, and then she met Todd Tucker, and then went through their marriage, him not wanting to sign the prenup, right? But she got out of Housewives of Atlanta right before that divorce, right? So she got out of there right before the divorce. So we really didn't get to see the ins and out of the divorce. And I feel like with Kandi, she decided to get away from Housewives because she did not want to publicly go through the divorce on the show. I feel like that was a part of it. That's why she said, I'm out of here. Let me just go ahead, start doing my plays, doing my movies, getting my music, starting to tour, do my own thing. So I really feel that divorce she knew was coming, was happening, and she did not want that film forever on that franchise. Because look, think about it, right? The housewives, they come and go, right? They're in and out, they're back and forth on the show. like with Phaedra. When she had that whole scandal between Kandi and Porsha, right? They was like, Phaedra, you done lied to create a scenario. You were saying about somebody being Drugged, right? All of that, right? So she had to leave the show. She left for what, 4, 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5 years from the show. So she left. She went some did some other things, some other shows, right? She went on Married to Medicine for a season or two, right? Okay, did a little time over there, but now she's back. She's back home on the Housewives of Atlanta, right? Okay, so she's back. She's one of the OG, the veterans. Okay, so she's back as well. Now, also another OG that has left is the beautiful Miss Kenya Moore, right? Kenya Moore, and she's been in the headlines lately as well. If y'all didn't see her hair care or her hair spa in Atlanta closed, right? All of her belongings, right? The chairs, the sofas, her Bravo gowns were all spewed out on front of the lawn, right? She lost a court battle against the landlord. She was stating she put like $80,000 into the fix up of the place, and they were supposed to return the investment to her. So they had a legal battle. They were in disagreement with it. The court sided with the landlord. So she thought she was going to withhold, right, the rent. Bad scenario, right? Because even though you don't agree on them paying the money, you should never withhold the rent. Well, that's what happened. She withheld the rent. The court decided to go with the landlord, okay, and there was an eviction put into the system where she had to vacate the premises, right? So the one thing I don't agree with her with that, even though she knew she lost that court battle, she did not decide to go ahead of time and clear out that space, right? I think it looked bad. I think it was a bad move. You know, business is business. She lost the court battle. You know, she can appeal it, she can fight it later on, but that look of her being allegedly evicted, allegedly thrown out was really a bad look for her. So, you know, I hate that for her. However, once again, she was a part of the Housewives franchise and doing really well until she made a really poor bad decision, right? So as y'all remember last season, her and Britt Edie got into it on the set of her grand opening of this now closed, evicted hair spa that she has, where she had a grand opening, and in the grand opening, she decided to show some provocative, right, distasteful pictures of Britt Edie in a compromising position, right? So really, really terrible. So she had this young lady's picture up doing some, god awful things, right? So she did that at her grand opening. So she went too far on the show. Bravo aired it, which is crazy to me. They aired it in the episode. So they said, Kenya went too far. They had to let her go. Britt Edie is allegedly also suing the network because they aired it all over, right? They should have never aired it. So it's a mess. Britt Edie pulled up to the hair spa as her stuff was spewed out over the lawn. She shook her head in her nice Bentley, her luxury car, winding her windows and shook her head like, this is what happens when you play dirty, baby. You never win. So my God, it was a mess. So OG NeNe Leakes, OG Kandi Burruss, and OG Kenya Moore all gone from the Housewives of Atlanta franchise, right? Okay, all of them are gone. The veterans are gone, right? So that only leaves the beautiful Miss Porsha Williams to hold it down. So is she the new face of season 17, right? Okay, we're asking that. Is she the new face? Let's start from where she began. So in the interview, they talked about her coming in season 5 as Cordell Stewart's wife, right? Cordell Stewart. And he is or was a former NFL player, okay, football player, and he is also a Heisman Trophy winner, right? Very prestigious, well-known athlete, a lot of accolades, very talented, okay, and he had the beautiful Miss Porsha Williams on his arm. So she was on the show as his wife, right? Okay, beautiful, well dressed, hair, makeup, beautiful, lavish home, right? She had it all, right? So now she is no longer positioned as the beautiful housewife, right? She's now positioning herself as the anchor of the show. Something that NeNe Leakes used to be on the show, right? Where the show surrounds her, the show revolves around her, right? All of that. Okay. So she just didn't grow on the show. Okay. She outgrew the role she started in, right? So she started as a housewife, right? The wife of a NFL baller, right? An NFL football player. Okay. She was the wife. She was the stay-at-home wife to where she catered to her husband. She cooked his meals, right? She stated that she gave up her businesses before she even met him. They lived across the street from each other, that she had two daycare centers. She was her own boss. She was an entrepreneur doing it for herself, and they lived in penthouses across from each other. So that's how she met Cordell Stewart and how they began their courtship. And then eventually it led to them being married, right? Okay, close proximity, them living in together. So that's how she ended up being a housewife to him, right? So she first appeared housewife. They got introduced to each other. All right. Everybody was like, oh, okay, Portia, you're so sweet. You know, you have an NFL player, Cordell Stewart. It's going to be really good. However, the other castmates like NeNe warned her there's only going to be one star. There's only going to be one star in your home. Okay. Your husband, a Heisman Trophy winner, Cordell Stewart, right? NFL football player, right? Is the star in your home. However, Housewives of Atlanta, these ladies are well known, right? Reality superstars, right? All over the world. They are known everywhere, right? He's now not the only person that's a star in the home. You've got Porsha Williams, whose level of fame is either reaching his or surpassing it, right? And y'all know egos can get big in a home, especially when you're the only one that's a superstar. Hi, Mika. Thank you so much, Queen, for coming on in. Make sure you like, comment, and share your girl out. Got the grandkids listening, let you play. I thank you so much for the support, Queen. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so we are talking about if Porsha Williams is the new face of season 17, Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? Okay, so yeah, so we're talking about her stardom, how she went from being that beautiful wife with Cordell Stewart to now, honey, she's the anchor running it on her own with her multi-million dollar businesses. Okay, so Cordell, he is the star of the home, right? But now Portia is on this highly rated, highly anticipated boomer reality TV show, right? Housewives of Atlanta. People tuning in at 8 o'clock every night. They want to see the stars of the show. So you not only have an NFL player who's a superstar, you now have a wife that's a star in her own right, right? She's a reality star. Egos can come into play, and that's a lot to deal with. That is a lot to handle, right? Okay. Her identity at that time is tied to his house. Okay. That's his mansion. Like she stated, she had a penthouse. She had two daycare centers at the time that she met him, but after they just said, I do, she let all of that go because she said she did believe in traditional marriages, right? She believed that the husband, the man, is the head of the household, and that the husband, the man, is the provider, and that you rely on his money. You rely on his funds to take care of the household. So she said she had a very Southern, old school, traditional way of looking at marriage, right? Hi, Mr. Nee. Thank you so much, Queen, for coming on in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share your girl out if you haven't already. So we're talking about Porsha Williams being the new face of season 17, Real Housewives of Atlanta, and how she went from being Cordell Stewart's wife to now being the anchor for the show. I gotta watch it. I haven't watched it in a while. I gotta catch up on it so we can talk about it. Yes, Mika. Yeah, you gotta catch up on it. So yeah, I think we're on about 4 episodes with Housewives of Atlanta. I think we're on 4 episodes. So you haven't missed too much. Not too much, but yeah, you got to catch up on it. Absolutely. Yeah. So her identity. Yeah, when she first came in, she was attached to his house, right? His mansion, his money, right? His lifestyle. She was the wife, okay, of a superstar athlete, the wife of the Heisman Trophy winner, right? Cordell Stewart, the wife of an NFL player, right? The wife. She was the wife. That was her title, that was her identity, right? That's what she was known as. She wasn't known as Porsha Williams, okay, the entrepreneur, Porsha Williams, the activist, Porsha Williams, right? Okay, the person who was a leader in the community. That wasn't her title. That wasn't her title, okay? And it was his name. She was Mrs. Cordell Stewart, right? She wasn't Porsha Williams, separate the mogul, the businesswoman, right? The entrepreneur. She wasn't known as that. She was known as Mrs. Cordell Stewart. So that's how her whole story was painted in the beginning, right? Okay, but all of a sudden, right, it was a beautiful picture. They was lovey-dovey. We was like, okay, this is gonna be a nice storyline. But all of a sudden, that came crashing down, honey, when she got humiliated in the worst possible way. Right? She stated in the interview that the way she found out that she was getting a divorce was through Twitter. Can y'all believe that? Twitter, y'all. On Twitter. That's how she found out that she was getting a divorce from Cordell Stewart. He put it on Twitter that he was divorcing her. Like, how low can you go? You mean to tell me I couldn't even get the decency of being served some divorce papers, at the house? I couldn't get some decency of a phone call. I couldn't get a decency of a text. I couldn't decency of your mama, your daddy, your family member letting me know, a brother, somebody in your family letting me know. But Twitter, he was mean. Yeah, that's messed up, Deneen. Yeah, he was. He really was. Like everybody said, allegedly he was a beard. She was his beard as well. So I don't know with the show that it was exposing too much of their life. Like NeNe was warning her, you can only have one star. You can only have one star in that house, and it's going to be tough going in this show because now you're going to have just as much, if not more, stardom than he is, right? Because he's in retirement. So people are not going to know him as much. But you're young, beautiful, you're in a reality TV show. People are going to know you more, okay? And say, oh, you are Porsha Williams' husband, right? He's not going to like that. He's not going to like the roles being reversed. Yeah. He always had a nasty attitude. Yeah, very nasty towards her, Denise. Very nasty towards her, cold, okay? Really condescending, okay? The way he talked to her, all of that, right? Okay? And so him being mean, the way he's talking to her, right? Putting her down and everything. She even said in the interview that he even said that to her. He was like, I don't like that you have this fame now. He was like, before when we got married, you were just my wife, right? And it's too much that I have to compete with you. She was like, he actually said that in an argument that he didn't like that the fame and the stardom was coming and that they referred to him on the show as her husband. He didn't like that. He didn't like to be secondary to her, right? It was his ego. It was a lot. But like I said, so he announced a divorce on Twitter, right? He didn't even give her the decency of serving papers to her, letting her know up front, talking to her, no phone calls, none of that, right? He was envious. He really was. He was envious that now she had all of the attention, right? The spotlight was on her, right? All of the blogs, right? The TV shows, the CEOs, okay, production companies. People were coming to ask her to sign contracts, all right, with her name on them. Back in the day with Cordell, it was about him. People were seeking his talent, right, in his prime. People were seeking him to sign on the dotted line, to sign contracts. Now the roles are reversed. No one's coming to see you, Otis, right? Nobody ain't coming to see you, Otis. Your time to shine has been up. All right, it's done. It's Portia's time, right? It's all about her. The show revolved around the wives. It's called Housewives of Atlanta for a reason. It's about the wives. And the husband The husbands were supposed to be the supporting role, the supporter in the show, right? The castmates support system. They were supposed to be there for them to come and say, "Do you know? Let me tell you what NeNe said at this and this, this and this." And this husband's supposed to sit back and say, "Well, you know how y'all women do." Bop, bop, bop. He was supposed to be the supporter in the relationship, right? It wasn't supposed to be about him. And that makes you think when he agreed to do the show, maybe in his mind, he thought that they were really going to focus more about his role and how he runs the household and his businesses and focus more on his daily activities. And it really wasn't about him. And when he literally found out it was going to be about Portia and how her relationships were going to be with NeNe and Sheree and Kenya and the likes, he did not like that at all because it was less about him and it was more about her. And he became envious, right? Very jealous of her, right? So he said, "You know what? I'm out of here. I'm not getting the attention I want." Like he's told her, it can't be more than one star in this show. I'm the star of this house. I'm the star of your life. It ain't gonna be, I can't be competing for your attention, right? And you got all these people calling your name. What about me? What about me? Right? So he put it on Twitter that he was divorcing her. He didn't give her no conversation about it. He didn't give her any warnings about it, right? Maybe he didn't even give her a little tweet, a text, a email, none of that, right? He didn't give her any of that kind of consideration, right? Just said, "Oh yeah, we're getting a divorce." Excuse me, what? Pardon me? When? How? Why? Just surprised her, a gut punch, right? Then it got worse after he put the divorce on Twitter. Guess what happened next? Then he put her out the house. Mm-hmm. Yep. She didn't have nothing to her name. Remind you now, she had two daycare centers, but she said she sold the businesses because she said she believed in the traditional marriages where you depend on your husband's, your spouse's income. So she said, "Oh, I'll be just fine," right? And she's right in that aspect. He was a multimillionaire. She can depend on his income. So she said, "Hey, I could give up my businesses and rely on his." So that's what she did. She sold her daycare centers. Okay. She got rid of her penthouse. So she didn't have a home to go to anymore. Okay. So she lived with him. He provided financially for her. He did everything for her. So when she moved into his home that he already had, that she didn't have privy to, right? So she moved in all relying on his money, his income, for him providing everything for her. Honey, there must have been some red flags. It had to be, Denise. It had to be. But you know what? Like she said, she was young. He was famous. He had multi-millions of dollars. He had access to extravagant, luxurious cars, lifestyle, homes, fine clothing, fine dining, right? So things that she wanted to have in life, he could provide for her. So I'm pretty sure those red flags she ignored so that she could have the lifestyle and the luxury of living, okay, that she wanted to have, right? So after the divorce, he put her out the house, evicted. She didn't get nothing. She didn't get no money. She didn't get no alimony. She didn't get no housing. She didn't get no property. She didn't get no stipend. She didn't get nothing. She got put out of the marital home. Mhm. She got put out of the marital home and she had to go back to her mother's house. Yeah, she had to go back to her mother's house, okay, where she said her mom, thankfully welcomed her with open arms, okay. And the mother stated, during that time that she went through a lot, that Portia went through a lot. She said Portia had her Bentley. She was driving in her beautiful Bentley, and everything, had a luxurious car. And she was like, "Don't you know my daughter did not have a dime to her name?" She was like, "I had to provide financially for my daughter. Just the everyday living expenses her mother had to provide for her." She said buying food, providing groceries, providing shelter, providing clothing. She was like, her everyday expenses, her mother had to turn around and do and provide for her because she left without a dime. She didn't have nothing. Said she didn't have any businesses. She didn't have a job. She didn't have any money of her own. So she left absolutely nothing, and she had to go back. She had to go back to her mother's house, and her mother had to provide for her at that time, right? So she said she had been forced to move in with her mom, and she was like her lowest low, and she said she had to ask her mom. I guess it's something she needed to do, right, business wise or whatever. So she had to ask her mom for $500 just to make a business deal or to make something happen. She said that was like one of her lowest point, where she was like, "Oh my goodness, I gave up my own businesses, my daycare centers, my independence, my own penthouse, my entrepreneurship to be a wife to Cordell Stewart. And here I am with not a dime to my name, not a house in my name, nothing. I had to leave with nothing but the clothes on my back. Got thrown out the house. Hi, Florida with She. Thank you so much, Queen, for coming on in. Make sure you like, comment, and share your girl out. I appreciate you coming on in. So we are talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah, so we're talking about Miss Beautiful Porsha Williams. Is she the new face of season 17? And just her stardom here, how she started off as the wife of Cordell Stewart, and now, honey, she is the anchor. She is the anchor of season 17. Yeah, so she had a lot of stepping stones to go through, most definitely, right? But yeah, she said one of the hardest things she had to go through was ask her mom, like she said, for $500 just to make some things happen, business moves for herself. Like she said, she had to leave her marital home with absolutely nothing. He kept the marital home. He kept the money. He didn't have to give her no alimony. He didn't have to give her anything for those time that they were married, right? And she found out that they were getting divorced on Twitter. Like, that's crazy, right? So it was like a punch to the gut. Every step, every move she made every day, right? Okay. So it's a lot. Can you imagine? You're going from a beautiful mansion, a luxurious home. Okay. I'm sure you had personal chefs. You had maids. Okay. You had access to a different type of lifestyle, right? Yeah, Florida She. That's crazy, right? Okay. He left her penniless. He did, Deneen, penniless, high and dry. When I say she didn't get anything, she did not get anything from Cordell. Like, he made sure that she left the same way she came in, goose egg. She didn't get a dime out of him. So he must have had an ironclad prenup. His lawyers made sure she signed on that dotted line. Like, when if you got to go and you got to leave for any reason at all, you're not getting anything out of me, right? So that beautiful luxurious home she had, right? It was so grand. When y'all remember in season 5, when they showed their home, when they showed like the beautiful dining rooms, the beautiful bedrooms, her clothes, her closets, everything was so luxurious, right? She had a beautiful, beautiful, luxurious home, right? She had financial comfort. Like she stated, she owned 2 daycare centers. Okay. So she was a working woman, an entrepreneur, making it for herself. But nothing compares to a multi-millionaire who has multiple money, right? Millions of dollars that you are able to spend at your pleasure, right? You're able to buy what you want, your jewelry, okay, cars, vacations, right? Anything that you want or need is at your fingertips, at your disposal, right? You got the best of the best. Can you imagine going from a mansion, right? You're leaving that and you got to go back home. Regular living with mama, we going to regular living with mom. You got to do your own laundry. You don't got no maid doing the laundry, cleaning up behind you, cleaning the house. Okay, regular living with mama. You don't got no personal chef cooking you your dietary needs, cooking you special dinners, filet mignon. You better get in that cupboard and fix your own food again, right? What kind of person does that? He must have really been pissed with her or didn't trust her at all. That's right, Deneen. He was so angry at her, right? Like I said, what he thought was going to happen on this show, it must have not really happen the way he really wanted it to, right? Like she said in the argument, he said it can't be two stars in this home. There's not going to be two stars. Maybe she was filming too much. Maybe she was away from the home too much that he didn't like, right? Maybe she was doing too much with the other ladies that he didn't appreciate, that he wasn't included in the events of the filming, right? Okay, so maybe he was like, okay, I thought this was a marriage. Y'all filming us. I'm the husband. Why aren't I in the film more? Why aren't you here in my home showing me what I'm doing more, right? He wasn't having none of it. He said it was too much going on to where she was the star and he wasn't. He did not like it, right? And then, of course, it was a public marriage. So people are commenting the things he's saying, okay, the way he's treating her. We're seeing how they're looking at each other, right? And so we're dissecting it. We're like, something, the milk ain't clean in here. This marriage don't look too steady, right? So the public marriage, that's a lot to deal with when you're on the housewives. Maybe she started getting big headed. Could be Denise, right? Because you start feeling yourself, right? You're one of the stars of the hottest reality TV show out here. She's beautiful. She's young. People want to talk to her. People want to get to know her. She's being called on different shows, right? Okay, she's going here, she's going here. And it used to be all about Cordell Stewart. He was the one being called to different shows, being called to go to make appearances. But now it's all about Porsha Williams. Now it's not about Cordell Stewart anymore. Right? So, and now we're dissecting the marriage. We're looking at how he's looking at her. We're looking at how he's treating her. It's a problem. Remember, they were supposed to go out to a strip club and she was supposed to go with the ladies and she said she had to ask for permission. And the ladies, NeNe and everybody almost flipped out. And it was like, permission? What do you mean? You gotta ask for permission. Girl, you are grown. You are a grown woman. Why are you asking for permission? What is the problem? So, and she was looking at them like, yeah, I've got to ask permission. And they were like, something ain't right. So, and that may be what he required of her, right? Asking for permission. I'm the head of the household. You do what I say here, you know. I am the one that's in charge of this home. It goes through me. But you know, the other ladies, baby, they were very independent. They were married as well, but they didn't understand how her traditional marriage was and that it was so strict, it was so tight as well. So a lot of people was tearing that down, like she's got to ask for permission to leave the house, she's got to ask for permission to go to the strip club, she's got to ask for permission to do this. Like, what is going on? Like, how strict is this marriage? Like, can she do anything? Can she go anywhere without him? So they really was dissecting that marriage with her and Cordell, right? So I'm pretty sure that was a strain. That was a strain as well, right? Okay. So you go from a beautiful, beautiful, luxurious home, chefs, maids, beautiful luxurious vacations. So now you sleeping at your mom's house, right? You back in your old childhood bedroom. Because remember, she had her own penthouse, she had her own business when she had her daycare center. So she had already moved out of her mother's house into her own, but she sold all of that and only relied on him. So now she's back in her childhood bedroom, right? So it's probably got her, you know, her Barbie dolls, her teddy bears, all of that on there. So she's back feeling like a little girl at this point, right? So it's very humbling. I think NeNe was her mouthpiece because her and Cordell used to get into arguments. Boom. Yeah. Yeah. So I believe that NeNe used to stick up for her a lot, you know, because NeNe probably was big sis to Porsha at that time and was like, honey, I've been married, you know, NeNe was married to Greg for 20 plus years, and she married Greg at a young age as well. So she's been through all of that. Greg was an older man and, you know, traditional. She's the housewife raising the children. So she probably saw herself in Portia at a point like, okay, I've been where Portia is at. Got an older man. He has the money, right? He wants you to be the wife, the woman who takes care of the home. You listen and do what I tell you to do. So she understands that where she's at. However, you still got to have your own voice. You can't let him run you in the ground. You can't let him disrespect you, right? Talk you any kind of way because he's got the money, because this is his house, because he has all the cars, right? No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm, none of that. So I'm sure NeNe was trying to tell her, you got to step up to him. You got to be strong. And I'm sure that Porsha probably started confiding in her in the arguments and the things that was being said, because NeNe was trying to give her a lot of advice and was telling her, okay, girl, ain't not gonna be one star coming in this house, and he's gonna have an ego about it. All right, and then of course you putting this man on public TV, more women are going to be throwing themselves at him, so you're gonna have to be careful with that as well. Okay, so you got to be more aware of what's happening, right? He's going to have access to more women because you're putting your marriage, you're putting him out here in the public eye more and more, right? Right, so that's hard. She had a lot to deal with. She really had a lot to deal with. And yeah, and NeNe and Cordell, you know he couldn't stand no NeNe because NeNe was gonna speak her mind and NeNe was gonna tell her how it is. And you know he wasn't going for none of that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. He wasn't going for it, right? Okay. And he probably felt the way that Portia was listening to what NeNe was trying to give her advice on as well, right? So he didn't want nobody interfering in that marriage because he wanted full control over Portia. So yeah, y'all. So you going from luxury, you going from mansions, you going from having it all, right? It's a fairy tale. She was a princess. Okay, she had it all. Okay, you're going back to your childhood bedroom, right? It's a very humbling experience. Very humbling. She's got to go back home to her mother's house, and she's going back to her childhood bedroom. Okay. She doesn't have the maid. She doesn't have the housekeepers. Okay. She doesn't have that fine dining anymore. Right. Then she's got to ask for basic support. Like she said, she was like, it's very humbling. She had to ask her mom for money. She didn't have any of the businesses. She had to start all back over from scratch. Right. She was young and naive. Yes. Yes, Denise. She was young and naive, and she was going with everything that Cordell was telling her. She said she wanted to be the best wife that Cordell could ask for, right? So I'm sure she was doing her best to make sure she stayed in line with what he thought, or what he perceived as being the best wife possible, right? So she was doing everything. I'm going to ask for permission to go here, ask for permission to go there. But that's going to be hard because you on the Housewives of Atlanta. They turning up, they're going to parties, they're going to events, okay? They're out and about without Cordell. So Cordell is feeling the ways. He's probably at the house. She's not there. She's doing all these events. She's doing all of these shows, okay? And it's not with him. He's not a part of it. And you know his ego is hurt and bruised. It's hurt and bruised, okay? And so that was getting on his nerve as well, right? She probably was going more because she's working. She's not that traditional housewife anymore. She's a working woman now, okay? She's getting her own money now. She's getting brand deals now, okay? She's not needing his money anymore, right? She's not reliant on him. So all of that is changing. Okay. Okay. So she's going from all of that luxury living. So now I got to go back to staying with my mom, right? I got to ask her for basic support. I got to ask her to put groceries in the house. I got to ask her, for maintenance on my Mercedes Benz, on my Bentleys, because they're so expensive. I can't keep up with the upkeep of it. So I got to ask my mom to help me. I got to ask my mom for $500. There's a business idea, a business venture I want to do, but I don't have the funds because I'm starting from scratch, right? Because I signed on that dotted line to leave with nothing, no matter home, no property, no money, nothing, absolutely nothing, right? And you feel like he discarded you, not just privately, but publicly, because he did it on Twitter. He put it on Twitter that he was divorcing her, right? She didn't know what she was getting into. She didn't, Denise. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, she didn't. She saw the glitz. She saw the glamour. She saw, I'm going to be a football player's wife. She saw that mansion. She saw how he was living large, the beautiful home, the clothes. She saw the luxurious lifestyle, but she didn't see what all came with it. She didn't see how much she had to endure in order to have that type of lifestyle. She didn't see how she was going to have to give up her whole independence, her money, the way she was able to earn. She would have to rely solely on him, and she was had to make sure she followed his steps, his orders, right, to the T, in order to stay in line. She didn't know. So I'm sure she felt like she was discarded, right? He just threw her away, threw her out the home, locked her out from the money, locked her out from her dream, right? She dreamed of being a wife. She said she was raised to be a wife. She was raised to be a wife. Can you imagine that? If her dream was to be a wife and she was able to find a man that was able to provide for her and give her the lifestyle she's always dreamt of. That's probably all that was embedded in her at a young age, to find a good man, find a good husband, someone like your father, upstanding, that can provide for you. And she finally found someone at a young age, and she was so happy that she obtained that. And just to be thrown out like that publicly, that's very humiliating, right? Very emotionally draining. So she was drained, right? So she really felt abandoned, right? She felt abandoned, and they did it so public, right? She was on a show, so millions and millions of people saw her go through a divorce. Millions of people saw her get thrown out the house. We saw her having to move back in to her mama's house. Like, that was so humiliating, right? That she lost it all on her first season of Housewives. All of that thrown out like trash. Yeah, Denise, he threw her out like trash, and like he didn't have a care in the world for her, like he didn't have a heart for her at all, right? Public embarrassment, right? The whole world watched her fall. The whole world watched her fall, because y'all know Housewives of Atlanta, that was that show. Everybody was watching that show, right? It was unbelievable how people had a lot of respect for Cordell Stewart, right? Like we said, football player, been in the game for years, Heisman Trophy, very respectable man in his profession. Would we have ever thought he would have went down this road to treat her in such a manner? I never would have thought he would have done her like that. You know what I'm saying? Not even to give her no property, give her some money to stand on her own feet. Nothing. She walked away with nothing. Like, you threw her out, didn't give a care where she landed, where she ended up, how she was going to be able to survive. You knew the girl didn't have any type of businesses. You knew she didn't have any kind of income, that she relied on you, and you didn't have a care in the world for this young woman. Nothing, right? The whole world watched her fall, right? Who is she? So she was like, who am I now? I gave up my businesses. I was an entrepreneur. I had my daycare centers. I had my own home, but I made myself into a housewife. I made myself into Cordell Stewart's wife. Okay, that's how I painted myself, is that I'm going to be the perfect wife on Housewives. Like, I am the show, right? This is who I'm going to be. But who are you now? What are you going to do now? Like, what's the script? Now you got to tear the page out of that chapter, start all back over from scratch, right? Now you got to build yourself up from the bottom, right? Okay. Now you got to claw your way back up to the top. Now you got to get out here, hustle, work hard. Okay. Get your businesses back going. Okay. Work hard, pull it out the mud, and you got to do it somehow, some way, without no finances. Okay, do it, pull it out the mud the best way you can, right? And her mother is now providing for her. I'm sure when Cordell was providing, her mom was reaping the benefits as well, right? Okay, make sure mama is comfortable. I'm gonna make sure mama got everything she need. Mama house is good. Okay, mama ain't got to work so hard as well. Now I can make sure mama living good too, because what I got, mama can have. But the roles are now reversed. Mama got to make sure baby girl is taken care of, because she ain't got it no more. She ain't got it no more. And that really humbled her, right? It really humbled her, but it also ramped up her survival instincts as well, right? Okay. It put her into survival mode. So it may have kicked her into how she handled her divorce with Simon. All right. So y'all know, fast forward. Let's fast forward here, right? So she met Dennis, okay, the what hot dog king, right? So she met Dennis. fiance, and she had her baby with Dennis. Okay, they didn't work out. Fast forward, okay, she had an episode where she was going to meet Fallon, okay, a potential new housewives of Atlanta. Went to Fallon's mansion. Fallon opened the door and greeted and hugged Portia. And she was like, "Oh, yeah, Portia, this is my husband, Simon, right? This is my husband, Simon. Hot diggity dog, right? The hot dog king of Atlanta." Yeah, so she found her a little man. Okay, I thought they was gonna get married and everything. He did a beautiful proposal on the show, but unfortunately that didn't work out. But they got a beautiful daughter. They got a beautiful daughter out of that relationship as well. Okay. But fast forward to her meeting Fallon. Okay. Fallon was supposed to be a potential housewife on Housewives of Atlanta. Fallon had a beautiful, beautiful mansion. Okay. Fallon was a beautiful girl as well, young, very young. And when she introduced Portia, she said, "This is my husband, Simon." Okay. So Fallon introduced her husband, Simon, to Portia. All right. So they was having a girls' day. They was hanging out at the luxurious pool. Simon, shook everybody's hand, all the ladies' hands. He said, "I'm gonna get on out y'all way. Y'all have fun. Enjoy the house. Whatever's available here. Y'all have fun. Just let me know if you need anything, right?" Okay, so they're having a good old time. Now we're gonna fast forward. Portia's getting married. Portia's getting married. But guess who she's getting married to? She's getting married to her friend's husband, which was Simon. Yeah. So there's a whole big scenario now where Portia allegedly stole Fallon's husband, right? They was like, "How could you go to this lady's house and you was doing her wrong? Were you already dating Simon when you met Fallon at her house? Did you already know that Simon was going to be with you, but you still went to that lady house anyway? Were you already in a secret relationship, a secret affair with Simon when you went to Fallon's house?" Okay, we have questions. We have questions. We have questions, right? So it was very messy at this time. All right, now it was revealed that Fallon allegedly was pregnant with someone else's baby. So Simon and Fallon's marriage was on the rocks. Now, according to Portia, she said she knew that their marriage was on the rocks because Simon, not Simon, but Fallon was already pregnant with someone else's baby. Now that's what uh, Portia said. So she said, could she have outed her and got the scarlet letter off of her? She was like, yeah, but she said people still had their public opinions that he still was married. He still was married to Fallon and that he still was off limits to her. So some would say, even though their marriage probably was on the end, you know, on the rocks, okay, was probably headed for divorce anyway, if Fallon allegedly was pregnant with someone else's baby. However, that was not revealed in the show. The optics, the way it looked, was that your friend invited you to her home with her husband and you was already laying up plotting on her current husband that ended up being your future husband. So it was a mess, right? So fast forward, she had a beautiful wedding. It was luxurious. She finally found another man that could be the man of her dreams, right? So she thought, okay, once again, she did the same MO. She gave up her businesses, okay? She left Housewives of Atlanta, okay? She left for 3 years, right? Because she was with a multi-millionaire, okay, that could provide for her. She says she likes traditional marriages where the man provides for her. So she's back in the same pattern. Leave my businesses, leave my income, and have the man take care of me, right? She's back in the same pattern with Simon. So she's left a housewife. She's living a grand fairy tale. She's coming back to Housewives after a 3-year hiatus, right? She's coming back. We're all in anticipation, thinking, okay, honey, we really about to see some opulence, some luxury, okay, some multi-millionaire homes, cars, okay, jewelry. We fit to really see it, right? Mm-mm. She only comes back to let us know that they are divorcing, right? However, she did smarten up this time. She didn't leave empty handed. Not this time. She didn't leave empty handed to where publicly being embarrassed. She didn't leave this time without having homes. She didn't leave this time without no bank account. She didn't leave this time without no businesses. So she was very smart in this second time around, okay, with Simon. So she learned from Cordell Stewart. Don't come out here and not have anything to show for it, right? So she did learn from Simon. Don't come out here second time and not get nothing on the dotted line. So she did do well for herself and she was able to secure the mansion. Okay, so she was able to get the mansion. She was able to secure her spot back on the Housewives of Atlanta with a good check. Okay, so she got her entrepreneurship and she was able to secure money, all right, as well, coming out of the marriage, all right, with Simon. So she did learn some good lessons messing around with Cordell, right? She didn't have to go back to mama's house, and she didn't have to ask mom to support her. She learned some really valuable lessons, all right, from Cordell's situation. It's a big difference between how her and Cordell's marriage ended and how her and Simon's marriage ended. Both most definitely was messy. Both were both in the public view. However, the way she handled the one divorce with Simon, I think she handled it much better as well. Now, Simon was doing a lot on Instagram. You're telling his side of the story, that there was some infidelity going on her part as well. So there was a lot that was happening during this divorce. And then also, y'all remember that he got allegedly um, put out the country. He didn't have his proper paperwork, so there was a lot happening with old Simon. Don't get me to say his name, Gubadia. Did I saying it right? Simon Gubadia. I think that's right, y'all. But yeah, Simon Gubadia allegedly, he had to get deported, put out the country. His paperwork wasn't right. He'd been in the country illegally as well. And I'm thinking over time, as she got closer and closer to him and closer to the finances, she was saying the money was funny. Okay, the money wasn't looking as he was saying it was. Okay, things wasn't looking right. It was a lot of bankruptcies. It was a lot of creditors coming after him. And she was like, things wasn't looking the way that it should. So she decided to get herself out of this marriage before it came on her. Because remember, she was making a good little coin on Housewives of Atlanta herself. So he could have been using her stardom, right, to get famous, her stardom to get more businesses for himself. Maybe he had a good talk game, right? And was like, yeah, I got this and I got that. And it was an illusion. Maybe he didn't have it the way he said it, right? And was using her stardom to get himself into a position to get more money. So you never know what kind of stunt he was pulling, but I'm glad she was able to get out of it. If it wasn't right, if it was messy, but like I said, a stark difference between how she ended up divorcing Simon versus the whole mess with her getting put out the house with Cordell, no money, had to go back to mama house, mama paying for all the bills, her groceries and everything. It was a stark difference, honey. And she came back on season 17, right? I'm still in the house. I'm still in the house. She was like, I'm still in the house. I know that's right, Portia. Still in the house, right? And she made sure she had financial stability after her divorce, right? She had some really good lawyers to make sure Simon did not take all that money from her. I don't know if she had a prenup. What y'all think? Y'all think she might have had a prenup? She might have did. And in her prenup, she might have set it up to where she got a certain amount of money leaving the marriage due to any kind of circumstances, right? Because once again, with Cordell, he didn't give her no options, right? Even if it was him who decided to divorce her, she left with nothing. Nothing, right? Zip zero the nada, nothing. She left with nothing to her name. With this one, I'm sure because she's older, she's wiser, she's been through the ringer, she's been through man left her with nothing to her name. She was like, I'm not gonna do that again. When she saw the writing on the wall with this marriage, She said, I'm not fitting to leave without no kind of stability with this one. So I'm sure she's either had a prenup or she has some type of paperwork where it left her with the ability to get some money. Yeah, I believe she learned her lesson. Yes, Denise. She learned a big, big lesson. She did. She learned her lesson. And it's sad to say that she had to go through that, but maybe that was a good thing she did go through that with Cordell, right? Because she learned what some men could do when they hold all the power. She learned what some men can do when they hold all the power, right? He held the purse strings, okay? He held how much money she could make because he had to make sure she fell in line to what he wanted her to do, right? If she was just going to have to be his housewife and she couldn't make any money besides what he wanted her to make, that could limit her amount of money that she could make, right? Okay. So when she was with Simon, she has a whole lot of businesses. She stated that she has her Go Naked hair care where yeah, her Go Naked hair business where she has like the wigs and the weaves and all of that. And she has where Drew has a beautiful wig with Go Naked hair. Cynthia Bailey, all right, and she had on a full nice kinky wig. That's a Cynthia Bailey wig. So she was like, she has the ladies who've come on board and she owns it 100%. And she said that the business is at $10 million in sales that she's made over the years. Go Naked hair. So yes, she's doing really, really well. Carlos King was like, honey, are you $20 million rich? And she was like, I'm modest. I don't like to talk about my money and everything. But he was like, are you so rich that no amount of money that somebody can give you would be too much? She's like, honey, listen, whatever y'all want to bless me with, I can take more. However, she was like, I will say Go Naked Hair made $10 million. She was like, we've made that in sales already. So she was like, I'm blessed. And then she was like, check the Forbes listing come next year. And I was like, oh, okay, Miss Porsha. She learned. Don't give up all your businesses and just lay up under Simon, right? She did leave Housewives, but I think she saw that was a big mistake, right? I'm glad they were able to find some common ground. I'm glad they were able to get her back into Housewives because they did need her to come back in as well. Some of the part of the OGs on the Housewives of Atlanta, but she learned. She really did learn a hard lesson with Cordell, right? Okay, don't you give up your businesses because you never know what may happen in these marriages. Sad to say, but you never know. She's got to have something to fall back on. What does Forbes say about her now? Now that's a good question, Miss Deneen. Let me take a look and see what Forbes is saying about Porsha now, because she said check it in next year to see what her net worth is. Uh-huh. Let me see. Forbes Porsha Williams. Let's see. Let's see. Mm. All right, let's see. Forbes, Forbes, Forbes. Forbes ain't got nothing on her right now. The only thing that really pops up is about Williams open about her transition from reality TV fame to launching multiple brands, including Go Naked Hair, a $10+ million hair company. Then she's got her Pampered by Portia, which is a lifestyle line here where she has like the bed sheets. She also has like her joggers and different leisure outfits as well. So she's got that. She also talks about her books that she has. But yeah, her biggest thing it says is her $10+ million hair company that she has. So I'm sure with everything added up with that Housewives of Reality check that she gets. I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well. Let me see how much and see how much she makes on Housewives. Let's see, Porsha Williams Housewives paycheck. Let's see. Let's see how much she's making. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Now, okay, now Simon's attorney claimed that Portia earned 1.6 to $2 million a year on Housewives of Atlanta. Yes, so 1.6 to $2 million a year on Housewives of Atlanta. So Porsha is one of the highest paid peaches on Housewives of Atlanta. So yeah, so she's making some good coin. Yeah, she's making some good coin over there on Housewives of Atlanta. So yeah, the lawyers are saying she's making 1.6 million to $2 million on Housewives of Atlanta. So if she's saying check Forbes, so I'm pretty sure she's probably negotiated a higher check because she was going to bring the drama. She was going to bring some really, really good tea to Housewives of Atlanta. So she probably negotiated for a very good check on Housewives. Who wouldn't want to be a Housewives peach? You get to go to all the events, dress up in your beautiful clothes, okay? Go to all the parties, talk a little smack, okay? Hobnob with who's who, all right, in Atlanta. Drive your beautiful, luxurious cars for a couple of days out the week, film, have a little cat fight here and there, makeup, hug, all right, and everything like that. Go on social media, talk about it for $1.6 million to $2 million for a season, not even for the y'all not even filming for the full year. That's not even for the full year. Just for a couple episodes, she's getting 1.6 to $2 million a year. I know Kenya is sick because I'm pretty sure Kenya Moore was just as high, if not higher, up there as well as being one of the OG Housewives of Atlanta stars. So I know Kenya Moore is sick that she lost this good check by going overboard as well. Yeah, but she learned a good lesson. Portia did learn a good lesson, but they say she's a new face of season 17. Y'all make sure y'all tune in. Y'all make sure y'all tune in on Housewives of Atlanta. I think we're on episode number 4. It's getting pretty good. Portia and K Michelle starting to get into it as well. I'm gonna watch their dynamic. I think they're gonna start bumping heads because both of them say what's on their mind and they just blurt stuff out. K Michelle got that about her. Portia most definitely got that about her, just saying any and everything that comes to the top of their head. So I can see them really, really clashing because of their personalities as well. I haven't been watching it. Yeah, Denise. Yeah, you got to start watching it to see what's going on as well. So you got K Michelle, Portia getting into it. You got Pinky, she's new on this season as well. She does the vegan restaurants, so she's going through her bankruptcy battles with her and the husband. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So we're gonna see how everybody gets along, don't get along, and y'all know Shamia and Portia don't get along anymore. So that friendship has been broken. So hopefully they can get it in a minute back together. But we're gonna keep our eye on Housewives 17, season 17, and see what's gonna happen between K Michelle and Portia. I think that's gonna be the big, big battle this season. K Michelle and Portia. I only watch the first episode for this season and not watching any more of them. Hi, Erica. Thank you so much for coming on in, Queen. Yes, yes, you can kind of get the gist of what's happening, on social media, maybe you can get all the clips of what's happening, even if you don't watch the full episode, and you can watch the clips of Housewives and kind of get the gist of what's happening on the shows. Okay, K Michelle is mouthy. She is the name. She is. Yeah, because Portia was saying how she slipped up. They was having a conversation. K Michelle had that botched BBL where she put illegal silicone in her butt. And so now she's got a lot of infection and her body is filled with silicone and she's like very sick now from it. And so she's going through a lot. And she said she was at the Country Music Awards and had to do a performance. And all of a sudden, one of her wounds that won't close bursted open, and she said her whole gown and everything was just wet, right? Because it opened up. And so she had to get blow dried down so she can go perform. And she was telling Portia about it, I guess, at her house. But Portia thought at the hair salon, not the hair salon, but at the nail salon, that she was talking about a miscarriage. And K Michelle took offense to that and was like, "Why would you say miscarriage? You know, I told you that it was about my BBL rupturing and everything." And so I'm thinking they're gonna have a battle because K Michelle is not gonna let this go. That Portia said she was gonna have a miscarriage, and I think it was just her being Portia thinking the first thing that came to her mind. I don't think she meant no offense to it, but I think K Michelle is gonna run with it, and I think they're gonna really clash over this statement Portia made. Yeah, Denise. Yes, yes. So, K Michelle is really going to start talking a lot about her botched BBL and how sick she is and everything she had on. I think it was a couple episodes ago. She had to go to the doctor here because she had an open wound. It won't close, and the doctor's got to do some surgery and it's got to take some dead tissue out of it because it's coming infected. So she is really, really going through it with her body and everything. So she got very emotional, was like she hates she did this to her body. Like she never can get that silicone out of her body. Like she damaged it for life. So she's gonna have to go through sicknesses and illnesses as time goes on. So she's gonna really go through it by trying to, she was like trying to get a butt she already had, like already had a butt. And she went to trying to put a legal silicone in there to get it bigger and expand it and just really made herself sick. She really did. A lot of people with those BBL having problems. Yes, Deneen, it's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. You already, and a lot of people already got the physique. They already got it. They already got it, but they're just trying to make it exaggerated and expand it to something unimaginable, right? Just I don't want a regular butt. I want a big, humongous, something unimaginable, something different, right? Body dysmorphia just is something in the mind, and psychological in that aspect of it as well. But yeah, so she's going through it. She is going through it. So we're going to continue to watch it and see how this all plays out. But yeah, so I think it's really, really going to get dicey between K Michelle and Portia, right? All right, y'all, but I just want to come out here and talk about her interview she did with Carlos King here, and they say she's the new face of season 17, Real Housewives of Atlanta. But we're gonna see how this new season turns out and who really gonna be the star of season 17. We shall see. We shall see. The men say they stink. Child, Deneen, that what the men say. That what the men say, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's because a lot of them are fresh. The fresh BBLs. I'm thinking if you got a fresh BBL, it's oozing and it's still trying to heal, and you got all that fluid and everything. So I'm sure it would. It's still fresh, and a lot of people aren't healing, like K Michelle said. It's not healing, so you're gonna have a lot of oozing. You're still messing with the fluid, so it probably does because you got so much fluid and everything, and then you still got to go and have it uplifted and maintenance to it. So you're still opening up wounds. Too much. It's too much, right, Denise? It's too much. It's too much going on, right? So I hope this phase of BBLs goes away. I hope because people are dying on tables trying to get these BBLs. People are killing them bodies. They are hurting themselves trying to get BBL. I hope this phase goes away. It goes away. Kanye said Kim stink because of that BBL. I'm sure. I'm sure. Like you said, when you got open wounds. You got open wounds, right? And the fluids are steady draining. The fluids are steady draining out. So you think about you got open wounds, dead tissue. Some may be getting infected. So I'm sure you steady having to work and work and work to keep it up. As y'all can see, some of these BBLs they're starting to fall, right? Because they're not able to keep the silicone or keep whatever's in there up. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much, right? People got to start thinking about their health. They're putting all this here craziness in their body just to look a certain way. That's insane. You would rather almost kill yourself to look a certain way. It's something wrong in the mind. That's something wrong in the mind right there. You rather almost kill yourself to look a certain way. Yes, tiny butt fell. There you go, Deneen. That's the prime example right there. Okay, it's gonna fall. Gravity. It's gonna fall naturally. It's gonna start to fall, right? Okay, so now your butt hanging down on your thighs. It's gonna fall naturally. It's just the law of gravity. Ain't nothing you can do about it. It's gonna fall unless, once again, you cut and keep cutting and adding and cutting. It's to the point where you're just gonna stay in the operating room, stay getting cut on, right? With the oozing and the fluids and the uh-uh. Mm-mm. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. That's going on. Too much. Yeah, y'all. All right, y'all, but I'm glad y'all came on in the room. Yes, and hung out with your girl tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed tonight's show. All right, but I will be seeing y'all on these YouTube streets. Thank y'all so much for always joining me. All right, well, again, my name is Tanya Marie. Here with Bold One for Life, where we want you to be unique, be different, but most importantly, just be you. Thank y'all so much for always coming on in the room and blessing your girl with your presence. I hope y'all have a blessed night. Thank y'all so much. Good night, good night, good night. Good night, everybody.